Good afternoon, everyone. I think it's almost lunchtime, so I will try to please remind me, sir, when I coffee and yes. Can you make the slide flow? I think it is June. Yeah, yes. So, no. I'll speak in. Just a brief introduction. I did my BA and MA in Chinese at JNU, and then I joined PhD program in Chinese studies at JNU School of International Studies under the guidance of Professor Srikanth Kondapalli. So, my background is not technical, not even IR politics. My background is language. So I see from the lens of language semantics and the narratives that are being on the social media, and what the scientific journals are pushing the narrative, which Anamika Madam has also mentioned briefly. So from the map you see, a small caveat, what are the maps I'm using, they're all from the Chinese sources, predominantly from their Weibo, social media. So the geographical boundaries you see, please bear with me, they are just meant for representation purpose, not for any other thing as well. So the different point you see, majority of the rivers, or majority of the Asian rivers originate from this place. So when you see the entire PRC territory, you'll find that it shares about 22,000 kilometers of land boundary with about 14 countries. And then in these 14 countries, 14 land boundary countries, approximately 40 major transboundary water courses pass through these boundaries. So waters does not go through those political things. Yes. Out of these 14 boundaries, land boundaries, only less than 1% of water enters China, whereas the remaining 19% goes out of China. So China is the biggest riparian here, and then they have the ultimate leverage in the way they deal with the lower riparians. So when it comes to the Meadow dam we just discussed, before that there are 8 dams which are some are under construction, some have been constructed, and some are still under planning. So you'll see the names in the next slides. So and we also see in this brief presentation, I'll mention what are the narrative building and discourse, what they are dealing with the social media in the Chinese, and then what are the journal articles penned by the Chinese authors having affiliation with the Chinese universities or military institutions. How are they penning these things? And then what can we try to understand, try to decipher from these Chinese behind the bamboo curtains? So one thing from social media, just try to open up. When we have seen the blow-off incident in Sikkim over the Teesta River, the Chinese Water Resources Minister, Mr. Li Kuo-yin, he discussed in a World Water Week conference that look at India, you see how they have built the dam over the Teesta River, and you see the quality of the dam which they have built, and we have to learn from India not to repeat such mistakes. So that is one thing. And in Weibo, one of the Chinese chatters, and you see in Weibo they don't reveal their names. They are like mostly anonymous in the way they don't reveal. They use pen names when they discuss these. And most of those pen names in which they discuss on Weibo, they're usually former government or military officials using pen names to pen down their thoughts. So in one of the Weibo chatters about the method dam, which he has discussed, they mentioned that if the Chinese build a dam with all the uncertainties, in one of the chatter they say that it is India's responsibility to safeguard the dam, not the Chinese, not the other way around. Because if something happens, we are the biggest victim. Another one, with all due respect to the Brahmaputra board, one of the former Brahmaputra board chairman, Yadavji, the earlier one, he has mentioned in all these comments to media that the Chinese dam building on the other side will not have major impact because the water flow from that side is minimal. So, but the Chinese pick up all these comments, and then they mention these blogs, which are taken by the local media, and then further amplified by Global Times, People Style, and even by these Chinese authors affiliated with various institutions. And then that's how they build these. So when you make these comments in the public, I think these carry weight, if not immediately, but over a long period of time. So, and also we see the role of hydropower pumps, which earlier have teachers have mentioned. Like what is the role of Chinese state-owned enterprises in hydropower development? And then remember that all these hydropower, like we have seen NHPC, they are all A-listed shares in the Shenzhen and Shanghai. It means they are the top trending shares in the stock market, be it in Shanghai or in Shenzhen. So they need a lot of capital. So when they invest in Tibet under Aid Tibet program or other CSR activity, they don't do it for free. No lunch is for free. So when they invest in Tibet, it comes with a lot of price for the region. Maybe they want Tibet, not Tibetans. So that can be understood through the further slides. And then the Aid Tibet program which they have mentioned, we'll also see through that. And the infrastructure development, be it in highways, railways, airports, and the power grids. And earlier he mentioned about earlier scholars have mentioned about AI, the role of AI in predicting this. But we should also think the other way around. What is the AI's impact on climate change? So when AI can help us in giving prompts, when we give prompts, it needs a lot of water and a lot of electricity. Where do we get the water? And where do we get the electricity to generate those responses? So, and then lastly, a lot of data centers the Chinese are building. So when we see deep sea, for all this computing, a lot of data centers are required. And where are the Chinese building these data centers? So I'll begin with this. Next slide, please. So when we see the distribution of rivers within China, on the left side you see majority of the rivers on the left side of the Tibetan side. You see they flow the yellow Yangtze and Yalun Sangpo, Salvi, Niravati. They all flow from the high areas of the Tibetan plateau. And then the right side, you see there is a thin light green line which separates the left and the right. The one on the top, it says the rivers which flow within China, within PRC. Whereas those below, the white area, these are rivers which flow outside China. It could be to other countries or to the nearby bays or seas. So it shows a lot of water goes outside. So the Chinese obviously would like to make use of this water so that it helps in their various projects. Next slide, please. And then in the immediate left, you see the average water availability in each province. So the deeper the blue, it means the maximum amount of water. So on the left side, you see the Tibetan one, Tibetan plateau side, you see the thick blue. So it reflects that Tibet holds the maximum amount of water which the Chinese could utilize. And the middle slide, you see the distribution of glaciers in the western part of China. And this is where the Medoc region comes. So the circle which you see, these are all the glaciers in Chinese they mentioned. They are starting the Pamako region, just above that Namcha Barwa and Gyalapedi region. So these are the glaciers surrounding those regions. And the right side, the last map you see, they are the wetlands distribution across China. And the first one on the left, again it's in Chinese, it is Yani National Wetland Park. It is in Ningxi province, around the Yalun Sangpo River. So when the Chinese build these, so we have to see these things, what they are going to impact. Next slide. And again here, there are three maps here. The first one you see, it's about the migration of avian species from the Trans-Siberian region, from the Central Asia, and further towards South Asia, and again towards Bay of Bengal. You see, they are moving from the Central Asia, Trans-Siberian, towards Southeast Asia, South Asia, over the Himalayas. And some of the bird movements are through the Namcha Barwa, the Pemako region, that's over Arunachal Pradesh and Assam. So because of extreme weather conditions and climate change, the movement could be disturbed. And since birds and animals are all part of the larger food chain cycle, so I have to keep this in mind when we try to understand this. And then the middle part, this is basically the Namcha Barwa peak itself. From the lowest where we see the Yalun Sangpo River, and the top where we see the snowy cover. So at each elevation, different parts of wildlife, flora and fauna survive. So when something happens with tunnels building through these high elevated peaks, what happens to this flora and fauna, which are heavily revered by the Tibetan Buddhists? And the right one, here we see distribution of two species of brown bay, which we see also in Darjeeling as well, in Sarojini Naidu Zoo as well. So these are distributed across the Arunachali Himalayas as well as towards the Myanmar and also in Sikkim, Darjeeling areas. So they survive in a particular weather and habitat as well. So these are disturbed. So we have to see how these will sustain in the long run. Next slide, please. And we discussed about this Great Bend. So here we see the tunnels. The proposed one. So the one in the center, 7782, is the Namcha Baba peak. And
the source of all these images?
Pardon, sir?
These images are taken?
Sir, all these images are from the Chinese open Weibo social media, sir. So I logged into again anonymous account and tried to get this over countless nights, trying to understand how they, because trying to understand Chinese is like you sit in Anini in Dibang Valley, like a Mithun, and try to ruminate for hours or days, but still you don't understand. So struggling. I hope I'll make something out of this puzzle. So when we see this Namcha Baba peak in the center one, which is 7782 meters, and further below Gyalaperi, which is 7294. So the direct distance is 22 kilometers. But then when they build, but through the tunnel, when they build, the elevation drop is 2674 meters. So that's a vast elevation difference which they could make use of. And in the same way, there are other peaks on the side as well. There is one Langchia Pao on the extreme right, 6936 meters. When they fall down, again you see 23.4 kilometers direct aerial distance. But the elevation drop is again 2750 meters. So, and again here as well. So these are the elevation drops which they could make use of it. Next one. And again, since we discussed about this dam predictability, the possibility of building, we also have to see the seismic, and then the entire, how they depict these maps as well. And then what do they, when they make this, when they generate a lot of amount of electricity, where do they use it? And what is the purpose? And who uses it? And then I think we have to be vocal in putting out these as well. So the first one, they are hell-bent on building the dam, and it is already mentioned in their 14 5-year plan, and they are going to go ahead it. And they are also going to build more dams because they are into the, as Madam mentioned, they are in the process of greenwashing as to achieve their net zero carbon targets as well by 2060. So, and they are heavily dependent on coal for more than 50%, just like here as well in our country. So to overcome that, they need a lot of hydropower, and then each hydropower dam which they are building, it is not a sole hydropower dam. It is supported by wind and solar, because water, these hydropower dams, they could be like in peak summer season, the water could be evaporated. So sometimes the hydropower dam cannot function to up to its level. So that's why as an alternative, they also build solar and wind plants wherever possible. And that we can see in a lot of many parts of Sichuan and Yunnan province. So in the first line, in the first map, you see the reddest part is again in the Pemako region, where you could see the possibility of an earthquake is very high in the Pemako region. And the middle one is basically the entire the gorge right from the top till Pasigat, and you see the elevation difference from the top till Pasigat. By the time it reaches Pasigat, it is about 150 meters, and the top, so the water comes with such a rush. And then earlier Arunachal government has tried river rafting cruises and all. So if the water is less, so how will we promote tourism? River rafting. So, and again, there are a lot of boulders. Like I have been to Giling, I stayed in Giling for 4 days, and I trekked through the Bishing region just to see how people live there. So, and Siang River, as sir mentioned, Siang in Adi means the river that flows through our heart. So, it's so important for the Adi people. But, and I asked in Tuting, which the airstrip is just located just along the banks of Siang River. So if a flood happens, like we have seen in in Sikkim, the 8th Street, the army installation, they all get washed away. Same case in Walong as well, as sir mentioned again. It is on the Lohit River, and it is quite close to the Lohit River as well. And even Chinese plan to build dams on the one of the tributaries which contribute to Lohit as well. So that becomes again another issue. So and the right side here we see the Chinese reason behind when they generate power. Where does it go? So and they build a lot, like we have seen about in Gujarat, the Great Indian Bustard, the bird, which there was a lot of conflict in Supreme Court about whether we should build ultra high power grids, not ultra but high power grids, because because the bird movement would be disturbed. So at least we have a debate here. We could discuss something. They are going to build ultra high power grids, and you could see in YouTube. You type on that, you can find it. So they are building 3 different channels, which will all connect. You see all the 3 lines, the green lines. They are from Sichuan, Yunnan, Gansu, Qinghai, Tibet. This is basically part of the greater Tibet region. So they collect electricity from here and send it to Beijing, Shanghai, Guangzhou, all the major metropolises. So they take electricity from Tibet and use it for them. And I will also show another map where how does Tibet look like in the night. So and then we also see since we need AI to fight climate change, AI requires a lot of water and electricity. Where does it come from? Here we have. And then Chinese engage in a lot of cryptocurrency mining as well. So because cryptocurrency mining will help in evading the US sanctions. Like the Russians are doing it. Earlier the Russians are not interested in sharing transboundary rivers. Now they want to, because they can influence the Central Asian countries to further utilize them and run cryptocurrency bills. Because this cryptocurrency, Bitcoin, Ethereum and all, they are helpful in mitigating the US sanctions. So you see the money trail here. Next slide please. And here again the same thing. So in wherever they are building wherever they are building hydropower projects, it is supported by alternative of solar as well as wind power as well. So and there you see from Xinjiang, from the Central Asia, Central China, from the Sichuan and Yunnan. Whatever it is going to be basically the coastal region, not for the people who actually need it. And then since the dam building thing on the Medoc region has been going on, earlier Cloud RP sir has mentioned in the morning, this book, Tibet's Water Saves China, this is the right one. To get this book I struggled a lot, because in China this book is almost like sensitive thing. So somehow I got this access, but reading this is also because it's in complete Chinese and I'm still going through the initial pages. I hope I'll be able to understand what they want to say. And they have released so many editions of this book itself. So it shows, and this Chiang Zemin, the former Chinese president, even he has commented on this. So it means that this project is not simple thing that they have simply mentioned in the 14th five-year plan. It means they see this as a long-term thing. Next slide please. And then when we see about the water diversion, one we have heard again is Red Flag Canal, which is about transferring water from Tibet to the arid regions of central northwestern China, Xinjiang and all. At the same time, many of the rivers, as I shown in the earlier slides, the northwest region of China, all the rivers are inland flowing, means the rivers start and end in China itself. Whereas the southeast, those rivers, they flow outside China. So when they diverse water from these, you see they are meant to supplement the water scarcity in Beijing, central China. And then, for example, Apple manufactures these devices in Changzhou. So Apple requires a lot of water for this. All the wafers. For example, in Taiwan in 2022, when they faced a severe water scarcity, what they did is that instead of supplying it to the irrigation, they supplied water to TSMC. Because TSMC is the crown jewel of Taiwan's economy. So instead of giving water to Taiwan's agricultural lands, they rather supplied water to TSMC. So again, money. Next slide please. So we discussed about the VVPs in our side. So let's see the Chinese VVPs on their side. These are the Xiaotang villages the Chinese have been. So there are about 624 in level 1, level 2, as well as in Chayu, which is on the Anja district on the other side. So you see in Ladakh, Himachal, Uttarakhand, Sikkim, Arunachal. So you see Arunachal is given is shown in the dark green area, and you see the provinces just above side. Who lives in those Xiaotang villages? And to build those so fast, they need a lot of money, manpower. So do they employ Tibetans? So again, question rises. And then who lives in those faraway places? And then where do they get all this food? And then how do they dispose the waste? And where does it go? And this cement, electricity, who supplies it? So we have to see this again. Okay, next slide. And as per the 14th 5-year plan, they have been building a lot of railways as well. And these are all the associated infrastructure along the Yalan Sampo in the Tibetan region. So here you see, earlier they only have Qinghai Tibet Railway. Now they are building from Xinjiang to Tibet as well. And again, Sichuan to Tibet. And again from Yunnan to Tibet. And right here, the Great Bend, you see the green dotted lines. So they would like to link Pomi with Bome, B-O-M-E, Pomi, Madok, and again with Chayu, Anja. So they are building a railway line there as well. So it means the railways are not just for tourism. And when they see, there are many Chinese who are frustrated with the work. They work like 996 culture, 9 a.m. to 9 p.m. for 6 days a week. So all these frustrated youth, what do they do? And when you see many of the young Chinese graduates, every year about 1 million Chinese graduate from Chinese universities. But they're not getting jobs. And these are all single children. Means because of the one-child policy, they're all single children. And what do? When they don't get job, they lay back. Lay back means they don't aspire anymore. Like Xi Jinping says, pursue China dream. So what they do is they go to these layback places. Like in India, we see people going to Uttarakhand and Himachal. So people go to these Sichuan, Yunnan, and Tibet regions. So this puts a lot of stress on these regions' fragile ecology as well. So there's an issue of over-tourism in this region as well. Again, next one. Okay. Okay, sir. Okay, maybe I think 2 slides. Here in Tibet again, there are a lot of aid strips as well. So right from Ali region on the top till Sona and then these regions, you'll find. And then the one in the orange, they are all cargo, they are meant for cargo transport, and one in the red are for boat use. The population is less, where do they use is aircraft. And I learned from one of the lectures in Delhi that when you build an airstrip and there is a regular movement of flights, it increases the temperature around that aircraft, that airport vicinity by at least 2 degrees. I have to confirm, somebody said in a seminar that when you build an aircraft and there's a constant movement of flights in that region, in and around that airport, because they have built along the Yalun Sampo river as well, so that increases temperature by 2 degrees. So 2 degrees temperature, which we are talking about Paris climate. So I have to see here. Next.
Increases the local temperature by 2 degrees?
Yes, within in and around that vicinity. And here we see the left side, the vegetation of the physical map of Tibet and the night map of Tibet. So you see the darkness over Tibet, and where are the bright spots? It's in and around Lhasa and areas which are closer to Qinghai and Sichuan and area. Qinghai, Sichuan and Yunnan. Rest. So why are they building a lot of railways and airports and also a lot of highways? So again, that's a question, because these are all associated infrastructure that helps in a lot of projects, be it solar, hydro, and wind power. Next. And this map, biodiversity of Arunachal Pradesh, I sourced it from the Chinese Weibo, not from Indian. So these are the wild flora and fauna which we see in our state, Arunachal. Next. And again, sir mentioned about Buddhism as well. So here when you see Buddhism, the orange areas, like in the Kameng region, in Mechuka, further there, in Adi, there, and also in FT1, FT2 region, there, along the Anja areas. So these are all Buddhist regions. So when, like for example, we have seen in Dege Monastery, when the Chinese want to build a dam there, The monastery and the people, when they protested, they all got washed away and they were arrested. So when we see about this, we also have to look at the intangible culture being being part of the problem when we see this intricate hydropolitics. Next. Thank you for your attention. I said this is me at Kaho village. So I was there for about 2 days. Earlier I have been to Kaho, along the entire Lohit river and Divan river, Siang river, and again Subansiri and as well as Kami. I am trying to understand this place. This is not my hometown, but I am trying to make it. And I am throwing a brick, so hopeful that you will throw some jades towards me, that I will learn from you. Thank you very much.